I've closed some of the largest creators on the YouTube platform, including The Sidemen, Mr. Beast, Jessa, etc. And having a personal brand hugely accelerated that process. So in this video, I'm going to explain how I built a personal brand as a video editor without it sucking up all my time and in a way that actually served my career. For some quick proof, I've scaled past 10k a month with editing myself. I've also made over 100k in just editing pack sales. And also I run a super successful coaching program where we get bloody amazing results for video editors. And all of this started with me editing as a hobby, so let's jump in. The first thing we need to do if we want to build a successful personal brand is we need to know, what does the end goal actually look like for us? So many editors post and they're not getting engagement. And it's because they're not even sure what the plan is. Is it to get clients? Is it to eventually start an agency? Is it to eventually sell editing assets? Is it to have a coaching program? Like, what is the actual end goal here? Because that's going to hugely determine what inputs and what we should be posting from now. So let's talk through some of the common pathways that I see editors hitting 10 to 20, 30k a month actually going through. Number one is they eventually start their own agency. So they'll hit 8 to sort of that 12-ish K a month range, then they'll hire editors on their own and go from there. The next end goal that a lot of editors want to go into is more the digital assets side. So this is selling packs, etc. So preset packs, all of that good stuff. And the third is having a coaching program. A lot of the editing coaches that you'll see now, they're actually guys that I helped launch their coaching programs. So yeah, I've helped editors go down all three of these paths. And truthfully, I've seen editors go down each one of these three. In fact, I've even seen some go more down like the creative director role where they go all in with one client. But I've seen editors go through 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty much all of these and do well. So how do you know which path you should go down for yourself? Well, I want you to imagine you're 7'5". So you're in like the upper 0.1% of height in the entire world. If you had to pick a sport that you wanted to go all in on, what sport should you pick? I mean, basketball, taller people tend to have a natural advantage. It wouldn't make sense for you to play a sport that doesn't lean into that advantage. On the other side, let's say you're 5'8", probably not going to be realistic for you to get into the NBA. Now that's not me hating on you, but we're just talking about statistics here. So it makes sense for us to play games that we're most likely to win because that's how we're going to win. And in the same way, when we're looking at these different opportunities, we're scaling out of editing. So thinking about our long-term goals, we want to ask ourselves, what current skills or current unfair advantages do we already have that lean into one of these four paths? For example, if you're someone who's great at leading people and you're great at sort of like getting clients already, it makes sense for you to be starting an agency because pretty much all you're going to be doing is speaking with people and acquiring clients and making sure shit doesn't blow up. If you're more of an operator, agency lends itself really well to that. However, if you're someone where you know your editing's really bloody good, as in you have this certain style and you know people want it, the digital assets path might be great as well. For example, I launched an editing pack. When I first started making it, other editing packs were sort of $10, $20, $30 on the market. I came in and I said, hey, mine's $100. I had a friend in the editing space who knew about this before I even launched it. And he was like, dude, no one's going to pay $100 for an editing pack. We were making like 2 to 3K a day when it first launched. And we were sustaining that even till this day. It still makes sales. We eventually raised it to $150. Now it's $300 and it still makes sales. So if your editing actually looks good and you can find your unfair advantage, which I'll explain about how to do each of these later, then digital assets can be a great thing. Then you have coaching. If you know you've hit like major milestones in your career, coaching can lend itself really well to that. Then you've got creative director. If you know you're the type of person where you work really well with a client, but more specifically, you're the type of person that's willing to go above and beyond. So you know that, hey, I actually don't want to work with 2, 3, 4 clients at a time. I would rather work with one guy where maybe he's only making 30, 50K a month and I want to be the guy that helps him get to 300, 500, a million a month. That's going to lend itself to being not just a video editor, but being more of a core asset within your client's team. For example, we had an editor, his name's Avin. We took him from 1K a month to 10K a month. And pretty much straight after that, he realized that out of his 2 clients, one of them was way easier to work with, but also had way more potential in just how much he could make. He was making around $300,000 a month when they were working together. And he could see like, you know what, this guy's probably going to be making 500, a million a month if we actually do this whole content thing right. So that guy eventually brought Aaron in to go all in with his content. So now we know what your end goal is. And by the way, This can change over time, but we want to have an idea of what it looks like now. This way we're actually going to get there is by figuring out what our highest leverage activity is right now. That's going to get us closest to that goal. Leverage is just defined by what you put in versus what you put out. If I put in 5 units of effort and I get out $100, it's $5 to $100. But if I only put 2 units of effort in and I still make the same $100, in this situation, I have more leverage because I'm having to put in less in order to make the same amount. And the beautiful part is, let's say you get this to a point where you're not having to do much and you're getting more output. You can basically just crank this up. Let's say back to that 5 units of effort. This now becomes 5 units of effort for 500 rather than the original 100 that we had. So leverage is just how much do we get for what we put in. So in business, we always just want to find out like what actions can we do that if we do these things, it actually gets us the result that we want. Because there's always going to be 100 different things that you can do when you're trying to build a personal brand. You can record, you can script, you can make tutorials, you can just post your work, you can DM people like /outreach, you can have a YouTube channel, you can do it on X, you can do it on Instagram, you can have an email list. Like there's literally a million things that you can do. But how do you know what are the few things where if we just do these few things that take the least amount of time, we get 80% of the results? Because you're a video editor, and so am I, I'm going to share with you what I actually did. And this literally made me over $1 million before I turned 21 through both my editing, but also digital assets, etc. This is what the lives of most editors look like. They get a client, and then what they'll do is they'll essentially go through the entire workflow of editing the video. So they'll download it, they'll cut it, they'll do the visuals, they'll do the sound effects, they'll do the music, they'll export it, and they'll do all these little steps. And the thing is, as soon as they finish this, they'll get like $300 out of it, $500 out of it, $1,000 out of it, whatever. But the problem here is as soon as they finish this entire process, they have to start everything again. Where yes, they get a new video and they have to go through all this process just to make a few $100 or a few $1,000. What the best editors do, who have the most consistent income, the most growing income, and just overall get to scale, is they have what's called a feedback loop. Feedback loops are where whatever we have as an output, we actually feed it back to the beginning, where that now becomes the input again. For example, let's say you've come out of all of this, you've created the video. Instead of just leaving it here, you use that to put it into your portfolio. You use that to put it onto your socials. And essentially these two become the inputs to actually get you another client. So this would essentially become your client acquisition machine. And the reason this is such a high leverage activity is that just by doing these two things of adding it to your portfolio and posting it, which I'll explain how to post it in a second, by doing these things, we only have to spend an extra 5 minutes to update the portfolio link and an extra 20 minutes to cut up and make it ready for social media posting. But by that 20-30 minutes that we spent, we literally get 10 to 50 times the output and the reach and the amount of new clients we're getting compared to if nobody actually found out that we edited this video. I was watching this videographer's content recently and it struck me so hard. He said, if you didn't record it, it didn't happen. Meaning, let's say you get a job, you get a client, you do the whole video, the video shoot, I've got a lens here, you did the whole shoot, right? But you didn't have content of you shooting it, of basically to build your own personal brand. You might as well just not have had the client. Because sure, you made a few $100, a few $1,000, but you didn't get the long-term benefits of all the new clients that you could have, meaning you'd make an extra couple of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands by actually using that shoot to get other work. So if you didn't record it happening, if it's not on video, it didn't happen. In the same way, if the world can't see the edit that you made, that edit didn't happen. It's as good as if you just didn't do any of the work. And the best part about this is you're already editing these videos. It's not like I'm getting you to go out of your way and just sit in front of a camera, sort of like I am now. This would be stupid for you if you're actively going all in on editing content. Let's say you're only making 3 to 8K a month. It doesn't make sense for you to sit in front of a camera when you're actively always working on client work. Because truthfully, and I'm saying this as someone who now is going all in on making this type of content, this is a pain in the ass. You got to manage editors, you got to hire people. Even if you're doing pretty simple edits, you got to think about hey, are these topics that people actually want? How can we have a business on the back end? There's all these other problems. And yes, it's worth it, but it's only worth it because I did what I'm about to show you first. So when you post things on your socials, which is essentially just your work, but in different variations, and I'll tell you exactly how to do this, you essentially can spend like an extra 20 minutes a week and multiply your distribution by like 10 to 50x with 20 minutes of work a week. So for example, you might have the first post, which is just some images of the actual edit that you did. And then a few days later, you do like a 4 post on X, where it's like 4 different videos, where it's just like short little scenes. Then you might post the full preview. Then you might post the timeline. So just with one video, you can schedule out these 4 pieces of content that can build your personal brand. And the best part is, because we're actually posting our work and not some bullshit like a tutorial, it's actually going to attract the right type of person. In fact, the silliest thing that I see editors do is posting tutorials thinking that it's going to attract clients. And let me explain to you why this never actually happens. Whenever you post a piece of content, whether it be text, video, whatever, you want to ask yourself, who is going to be attracted to this content? So if you post a tutorial, who do you think is going to be attracted to an editing tutorial? Editors. And obviously, if you're trying to get more editing clients, probably don't want to just attract editors. But you might be thinking like, hey, there's going to be a few clients in there. And you're right. You are going to attract some editing clients by posting editing tutorials. So let me ask you this. What type of editing clients do you think are attracted by editing tutorials? The broke ones who can't actually afford to hire an editor themselves, and that's why they're having to watch a tutorial on their own. So yes, you attract clients by posting tutorials, but you literally attract the bottom of the barrel ones who can't afford an editor, and that's why they're having to watch a tutorial. And in business, this is what we call an avatar. It is, how do we actually know who we're trying to attract? If your avatar is editors, then there would be a different way that you're posting to attract those editors. And even within an editor, are you looking for beginners? Are you looking for more advanced ones? Within creators, are you looking for more of like the starter guys? Are you looking for more advanced guys? And within advanced, are you looking for a certain niche, etc.? Like you can go as detailed as you want, but you have to ask yourself by looking at your own page, objectively, who is this attracting? And it's important that we define this because it's not about who you want to attract. Like people don't get attracted by it and think, oh, but he wants to make content for me, that's why I'm going to follow him. It's just, who does it attract? Because that's what actually matters. The thing about brand is like nobody cares what your intention behind a brand is. If you're not posting shit that they want to see, you're not going to get them. It doesn't matter if your intention was to get clients by your brand. If what you're posting is attracting broke creators and editors, then that's what you're going to get. So let me give you some real examples of what you can post on your pages, whether it be X, whether it be Instagram, whatever it is, right? Number one is your actual work. Then we have variations of your work. So this could be like the actual images. This could be your actual videos. This could be like videos essentially in like a format where it's without sound. For example, this is the guy that's likely going to be editing this video. Whenever he's posting, like, yes, you could just post a video, but you want to post like variations of that. For example, like here, he did just the animation, like with the sound design. And then you have other sections where it's like just the animations in like a 4 split. Then you have the actual full preview. And then you could have the project, but it's in like a timeline form. Then you could have like just the actual screenshot of it. So there's all these ways you could literally squeeze the lemon or squeeze the juice out of your edit in like 4, 5, 6 different ways without actually having to do much more work. And I highly recommend doing that. So basically variations. The second thing that you want to post is social proof. This is essentially you showing people that, hey, I have worked with people like you, therefore you can trust me. The stupidest thing that I see some editors post, and me and you will understand because you're more advanced, like you'll understand that these people are stupid. It's the people who basically say like, hey, I just got a new client. Or the guys who are like, oh, I just got a new client at $1,500 per video. Comment how much your highest paid client is paying you. Or like if you agree to this controversial statement, like they're doing these things that might get them engagement. But if you ask yourself, when a creator lands on this, what do they actually think? Like imagine you're hiring 2 editors. You've got editor A, editor B. Editor A just posts his work. So he has this video, he has this testimonial from his actual client. Then you have like this sort of image like gallery where it's cool scenes. Then you have editor B where maybe he has one preview. And then the next one is him basically complaining that there's no good clients out there. And then this post, which is like him saying, hey, I just got scammed and go report this guy. Like nobody actually wants to be involved with this guy because he just seems like a fucking brand risk. And truthfully, I'm not in the business of trying to get clout. I'm not in the business of trying to get sympathy or pity. I'm in the business of trying to make money. And by you watching this, you probably are too. So I don't care, and you probably don't care about getting likes if it means that you can get clients. Internally, what we call this with our coaching students, we call it a KPI trap. A KPI essentially stands for key performance indicator. So these are like metrics that platforms or even employers will give in order to know like whether something is doing well or not. And you have a ton of KPIs that you could use. You could use likes, you can use impressions, you can use replies, you can have the number of clients that you got, you can have the number of inbounds that you got, so not actual clients, but people that showed interest. There are all these KPIs that you can use. A KPI trap is where you optimize for a metric that isn't actually what you want to optimize for. For example, if I told you, hey, choose between getting a ton of impressions or the number of inbounds you get, which one would you say that you would rather have? Most people would say that, hey, I would rather have inbounds, and I don't mind if I have less impressions if I'm at least getting inbounds. And the thing is, these things, not that they're always oppositely correlated or inversely correlated, but oftentimes there are. Like I could post a meme right now and I could get 100,000 impressions because it's super relatable to a ton of editors. But it's not the type of person I want to attract. It's cheap likes. Or I can post what my avatar likes, which is cool ass edits and actual useful editing advice. And that's what's going to attract the type of people that I want at this stage of my career, which is advanced editors. So as tempting as it is to talk about some like relatable thing for editors, like, oh guys, don't you hate it when people don't pay much? Or I just got my first full-time role as blah, 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 blah. It's so satisfying because like you want to get those impressions, but I promise you it's not worth it because it actively detracts the clients that you want. So the social proof that you want to be posting isn't social proof in the sense that you're flexing like the money you're making or whatever. Instead, the social proof you want to post is basically like client results. So ask yourself, like from the clients that you actually want to work with, what would they want to see? For example, like Lewis, so the guy that is editing for me right now. I sent him this message and I genuinely meant it. This is a smart thing to post. Let's go with one of the editors that we're coaching at the moment. This is an editor. When he joined us, he didn't have a single client. He's now at 10K a month with a single client. When he's posting just his work. And a lot of these are getting like 10, 40, 20 likes. This one got 3 likes. He's making over 10K a month. So my question for you is, would you rather have 100,000 impressions on a post? Or would you rather be at $100,000 a year? Because it's like, I know myself, I don't mind getting less likes if I'm actually making more money. And like the social proof that he actually shows, let's say, for example, on his portfolio, isn't going to be, oh, like, look how much I'm making. It's going to be his actual testimonials. Now, if I was him, I would also be posting these on his Twitter. But you get the point. Like, we want to show social proof of our clients doing well, not us doing well. So now that we know what we actually need to be posting, let's talk about how to actually stand out, because truthfully, there's going to be a lot of editors that are posting, but how do you actually stand out from the tens of thousands of them? This is where I call it the unfair advantage. Once again, if you're 7'5", your unfair advantage is your height. It would be silly for you to say, oh, I don't want to play basketball because it's going to be unfair to short people. That's stupid. You play into it. In the same way, let's say you're a bit of a heavier guy, like you've got some mass on you. Don't say, oh, I'm not going to get into wrestling or whatever sport favors you being heavier, because what if it's not fair on skinny people? It's like, fuck that. Your weight is your unfair advantage. Use that shit. So an unfair advantage is something that we have, which if we were placed against the average person, we would win. And it's an advantage that we have. So you want to look at your current skill set, your current experience, etc., and ask yourself, what is your unfair advantage over other editors? For example, when I was growing my personal brand, I looked at myself and I was like, wait, what is the few things that I'm like, this is what makes me different to a lot of editors? For me, it was that I do everything, or at least 99% of what I do, in Premiere Pro. And for the animations that I was creating, which I'll have my editor show some now, that was unheard of for people to create that in Premiere Pro. So what did I do? Did I try flexing that I was on After Effects because I wanted to look cool? No. I played into my unfair advantage. Because so many people hadn't seen this Premiere Pro thing being done, as soon as I started saying like, hey, I'm doing this on Premiere Pro, that became something special. In the same way, we had a guy, his name's Omar. Let me find his Twitter for you. Omar, when he joined, he was making like 2-ish K a month, well past 10K a month now with a couple clients. He wasn't this good when he started editing, but when he actually started finding a style that started to work, it was this type of style. Let me find it for you. It was like this sort of 3D style. And the thing is, he was really bloody good at it. He picked it up relatively quickly. And when he started finding that it worked, he asked me, should I test something new so my audience doesn't get bored, so people don't get bored of what they're seeing on Twitter? And I just told him, like, dude, why would we try something new when this is what's working? If you found a button that makes you money every time you press it, you wouldn't then go looking for other buttons. You would keep pressing that button until it stops making you money. So I told him, no, we're not going to try something new. We're going to double down on this. In fact, we're going to double down so hard, we're basically going to repeat the same format again and again. So for Omar, what we identified as his unfair advantage was, dude, you're really bloody good at 3D, so let's double down on it. Not only should we post a preview in that, but even the way that you're presenting the preview and the timelines, we're going to double down to this 3D style. For example, the before and after format, most people just do it in like some crappy way where it's like a plain PNG in the background. I told him, dude, people want to see you as this 3D guy. Let's play into that. Let's adapt this preview format and use the 3D style within that. So we were able to essentially get Omar to get his previews performing a lot better, but also get him the clients he needed to scale past 10K a month. So that was his unfair advantage. Like, truthfully, when I was building this channel, I told myself what my unfair advantages are going to be. I saw that basically every video editor, the stereotype is like the fat kid that kind of sits in his mom's basement and doesn't have a life. I genuinely despised that. So my unfair advantage was I'm social, I go to the gym, I travel, etc. I'm going to play into that because other Asian creators, no shade, but I wouldn't want to live their lives. So if you're the type of person where you want to, yes, hit your income goals, but also still enjoy your life, you're going to resonate a lot more with me than with other Asian creators because I've played into my unfair advantage. So that's basically why me and you get along. Because once we've found what our unfair advantage is, what we need to do is not just show it once, but we need to basically drill this into people's mind again and again and again and again and so on until they literally associate us so closely to that thing. For example, people know me as basically like the guy that edits on Premiere Pro, the smooth editing style. You have Omar, where people know him as the 3D editing guy on Twitter. So people will know you as that guy, but only if you drill it in again and again and again. Just because you post something once, maybe there's 1,000 people that actually saw it. Maybe 3 of them actually remember it after a day, and nobody remembers it after 2 days. So we need to not just hit it once, but multiple times and basically take up mental real estate in people's mind, because that's how we're going to grow a personal brand that's memorable. I like to call this Chinese water torture. So in like medieval Chinese times, I have no idea if this is real, but what they used to do is, as a torture device, they would basically sit people down on like a chair and strap them down and have a bucket above their head. And it would just be dripping water intermittently. So sometimes it would be like once every few seconds, sometimes there'd be like a whole minute passing by. Now this doesn't sound like torture, but what would happen is you would have a thought, and then as soon as the droplet comes in, you kind of just forget your train of thought. And then as soon as you have another train of thought, oh, there's another drop of water. You're thinking again, and oh, there's another drop of water. You get tired, oh, there's a drop of water. And what would happen is people would literally go insane at some point. And I see branding in the exact same way. It's not this thing where you just set up things once or post one time. It's just a constant like drip, yo, here's what I do. Drip, yo, here's what I do. Drip, yo, this is what I do. Until one day they see it and they're like, fuck, like, what does this guy actually do? Like, I want to see deeper into this. And I'm going to click his profile and look a bit around. And after enough times, people are going to be like, like, that's what that guy does. Like when you're posting your work, we call it previews, like basically cut up versions of your edits. You might be posting one and not get any inbounds, another preview, not get any inbounds, another, not get any inbounds. And then finally you post one, it gets like 40 likes and you finally get like 3 inbounds. You might look at this and think, oh, this is the preview that got me the inbound. But in reality, what's happened is a creator saw this, they weren't hiring. They saw this, they weren't hiring. And around this time, they started looking for an editor to hire. And coincidentally, you actually posted right then. And because they seen your name around, you were the first person that they actually reached out to. So is it really the last preview that got you the client? Or was it the 3, 4, 5, 6 previews beforehand? Because as you're growing yourself in this way, not only do we get the right type of person actually coming in to our page, but second of all, we start becoming an authority figure in people's mind because we've just dripped the same message and the same type of work again and again, where they know us as the guy that does X or Y or Z, whatever your unfair advantage was. And then when you eventually go on to start an agency, you now have all these people that literally want to work with you. If you then go on to sell a digital product, you then have people that want to buy that thing. For example, when I launched my editing pack, I look back at it and I'm like, dude, this was marketed in the shittest way possible. But because I had a brand where people knew me as a guy that did smooth editing, people ate that shit up because I had a brand before it. So whether you want to do digital products, whether you want to do a coaching program, for example, there's quite a few guys that have been in the editing layer. Once they hit sort of that 10, 12, 15K a month, they wanted to start a coaching program. I'm like, dude, fuck yeah, let me show you how to launch one that actually does well. And we usually spent like a couple of months building their personal brand up first, just like really making sure that people know them for actually being a successful editor first. And then we launched a coaching program and it did so much better when on the inverse of that, they were going to just launch it out of nowhere and it would have tanked. Or let's say you're going to go into more of like a creative director role. The reason it helps here is two things. First of all, the client can see that you've done it for yourself. But second of all, let's say that deal falls through. What you don't want is to rely on a single client. And when you're going into like a key man role into someone's business, you are relying on a single client, which typically you don't want to do. But what this does by having like a more personal brand, which we've shown you how to actually post and what to post, etc., you make sure that you actually protect, I think I spelled that wrong, protect yourself in a way where, let's say you do have something go wrong, you can actually pick up a new client at the rates you need as quickly as possible. Because what happens is, first of all, you get more inbounds, which you can take on anyone. But also, if you want to speed things up, your outreach will also convert at a higher percentage, given that you have that brand. So that's exactly how I built a profitable personal brand as a video editor. It's how I've done it for hundreds of others. And if you want, I've got a free 10K a month editor roadmap in the description. You can go get that. It's completely free. It just walks you through exactly the steps that I would take if I wanted to hit 10K a month again as an editor. And if you are looking to start an agency, so that's the path that you want to eventually take, you can go watch this YouTube video here. It'll explain exactly how I would make that freelancer to agency transition, just like I have for others. So you can go watch that video here.